Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your mind as a quiet theatre. The lights dim, the audience hushes, and without warning, a show begins. You never wrote the script, yet it unfolds scene after scene. Strange places appear, familiar faces blend with strangers, and time itself bends like soft glass. This nightly mystery is what we call dreaming. Science has spent decades trying to map its landscapes, yet dreams remain deeply personal, like fingerprints of the soul. Tonight, we'll drift into the psychology of dreams, uncovering how they begin, why they feel so real, and how they shape us. The first spark of a dream. Have you ever noticed the gentle moment right before sleep fully takes you? It's as if the mind slips its shoes off at the door of reality and steps barefoot into another world. In that quiet handover, the first sparks of a dream flicker. A flash of color, a vague face, or a whisper of memory. It doesn't announce itself, yet suddenly you're in a new place, watching something that feels both random and meaningful at once. The brain doesn't wait for deep sleep to begin weaving. Even as your body relaxes, tiny fragments of thought from your day drift like clouds. One merges with another, and suddenly there's a story forming. A hallway turns into a beach. A conversation turns into flight. These sparks are like brushstrokes that quickly multiply until the canvas is alive. Scientists call these early flashes hypnagogic imagery, and they can feel half dream, half daydream. A person might hear their name, see a shifting shape, or feel as if they're falling. For centuries, people believed this moment was a portal to hidden worlds, a sacred doorway where reality thins. Even today, some writers and inventors try to hover in this space to catch new ideas. What makes these sparks so enchanting is how unstable they are. Blink in the wrong way and they vanish. But let them carry you and they open into deeper stories. The first spark is fragile, but it teaches us something profound. The mind is always ready to create. Even when logic fades, imagination doesn't rest. It keeps sketching, keeps whispering, keeps building. And maybe that's why so many people describe dreams as messages. Because from the very beginning, before a single, coherent scene appears, there's already something alive inside you. Something pushing to be seen, even in the silence of night. Why the brain refuses to fully rest? You might think sleep is the body's way of shutting down, but the brain never truly surrenders. While the muscles soften and the breath slows, the mind keeps its lamps lit. In fact, certain regions spark more intensely at night than during the day. This is why, instead of silence, we find entire dreamscapes unfolding when we close our eyes. The human brain is a restless storyteller. Even when it wants to conserve energy, it rehearses emotions, replays events, and experiments with scenarios. Imagine a theatre troupe practicing behind closed curtains. No audience, no spotlight, yet the performance goes on. That's what the brain does. It keeps acting out possibilities, stitching fragments together, refusing to fall still. Part of this activity is survival training. In dreams, the brain simulates threats, running from shadows, confronting fears, escaping floods, almost as if it's rehearsing for dangers you may never face. Other times, it replays simple daily moments, a conversation, a laugh, a forgotten detail. Why waste energy on this? Because the brain isn't trying to rest, it's trying to reorganize, to keep you prepared for whatever tomorrow brings. There's something humbling about this. Our most advanced organ never clocks out. Even when you think you've turned off the day, your brain is cataloging, editing, and imagining. It's both a library and a dream factory, tirelessly at work. So perhaps the reason we wake up with clearer thoughts or new answers to problems is because our mind was never idle. It was busy the whole night through. And in that refusal to rest It shows us its true nature, not a machine, but a living storyteller, always sketching, always spinning, even in the deepest dark. The secret shift between wakefulness and sleep. There's a moment at night that feels like crossing a bridge in fog. You're not awake, but you're not fully asleep either. Thoughts slip, gravity loosens, and suddenly you're on the other side. Scientists call this the hypnagogic state, but to the dreamer it feels like stepping through an invisible doorway. During this shift, the brain slows its rhythms. Waves of activity stretch out, becoming longer and softer, like music changing tempo. Your awareness starts to blur. The sharp edges of reality dissolve, and imagination quietly takes the lead. It's in this threshold that the brain tests the first strings of dream logic. Bending space, mixing faces, shuffling time. Many people report vivid sensations here, hearing footsteps, feeling a jolt, or seeing geometric patterns behind closed eyes. Some even describe it as floating. These aren't hallucinations in the clinical sense. They're the brain blending waking senses with dream images. It's like two worlds overlapping, neither one fully in charge. Cultures throughout history revered this moment. Ancient shamans and mystics trained themselves to hover in it, believing it was a sacred passage where visions arrived. Even today, artists like Salvador Dalí and Thomas Edison used tricks to catch ideas during this fleeting shift, holding objects in their hands so the clatter would wake them before they fully slipped away. The shift between wakefulness and sleep is brief, but it sets the tone for the night. Cross it with tension, and dreams may turn heavy. Cross it with calm, and the dreamscape often feels lighter. It is the soft gatekeeper of all that follows, a quiet reminder that the mind never truly switches off. It only changes the rules. How the unconscious begins to whisper. Once you've crossed the threshold, another voice takes over. It's softer, quieter, but it speaks in symbols instead of sentences. This is the unconscious mind, and dreams are its chosen language. Unlike the conscious mind, which deals in logic and structure, the unconscious communicates with images, feelings, and patterns. A broken clock, a flooded street, an old friend appearing suddenly, each has weight beyond the surface. These whispers may not make sense immediately, but they carry the residue of fears, desires, and memories too deep to name. Think of it like a river under ice. By day, the ice of rational thought covers everything, keeping you focused, structured, practical. But at night, the ice thins and the river flows freely. Emotions, repressed memories, and forgotten fragments rise and move, unfiltered. That flow becomes the strange dream sequences you wake up trying to decode. This is why dreams often feel like riddles. They aren't random nonsense, even when they seem chaotic. They are the unconscious mind trying to send signals in the only way it knows, through metaphor, through strange juxtapositions, through feelings that linger even after waking. And maybe this is what gives dreams their haunting power. They whisper truths we don't always want to face, reminding us that beneath the tidy surface of our thoughts, a vast hidden world is always speaking. If only we learn to listen. Images that appear before words. Dreams are not written in sentences, they are painted in images. Long before a word appears, the mind shows you a place, a face, a color. It's almost as if the brain trusts pictures more than language when it wants to tell its deepest stories. This makes sense because imagery is primal. Long before humans wrote words, we painted caves with symbols, recording life in pictures. Dreams echo that ancient instinct. They show us what we can't easily explain, flying across mountains, standing in endless hallways, or holding hands with someone we haven't seen in years. No words can capture those moments as powerfully as the images themselves. Neuroscientists find that during dreaming, The brain's visual centers light up almost as if we're truly seeing. That's why a dream landscape feels real. It's not just imagination, it's a full sensory performance. Even if the logic is strange, the pictures are solid enough to trick the body into reacting. Racing heart, sweaty palms, sudden laughter. The absence of words is also why dreams often feel mysterious. Without a narrator explaining what's happening, you're left to wander through raw symbols. A door opening, a train leaving, a child calling. These pictures land in your chest, not your mind. They are meant to be felt, not neatly translated, and maybe that's the most human thing about dreaming. Beneath all our clever language, our minds still tell their deepest truths through imagery. Just like a painting speaks without sound, so too do dreams reveal what lies beneath. Not in tidy lines of text, but in colors, shapes, and moments that stay with us long after waking. Why the mind chooses symbols over sentences. Dreams rarely hand us a direct message. Instead, they dress their meaning in disguise. A bird instead of freedom, a locked door instead of fear, a sudden storm instead of grief. It might feel confusing, but there's a reason for this. The unconscious mind doesn't speak the language of grammar. It works in symbols, shapes, and echoes that bypass rational thought and land straight in feeling. That's why dreams leave you with an emotion first, the unease, the wonder, the longing, before you even begin to recall the details. Symbols are powerful because they can carry layers at once. A mountain in a dream may be both a challenge you face and the desire to rise above it. A mirror may be both self-reflection and the fear of being seen. No sentence can carry that kind of dual meaning so easily. Symbols allow the unconscious to speak with richness, to fold many truths into one simple image. Psychologists like Carl Jung believe these symbols weren't just personal, but part of a collective language all humans share. That's why strangers across cultures dream of falling, flying, or being chased. These symbols rise from something older than words, something buried deep in human memory. They remind us that dreams don't just belong to the individual, they belong to humanity itself. The brain seems to prefer this indirect way of communication because symbols create space for interpretation. If a dream told you exactly what it meant, you might dismiss it. But by wrapping meaning in mystery, it lingers. You wake up wondering, questioning, carrying it through the day. In that wondering, the dream continues to work on you like a seed that keeps growing after it's been planted. So perhaps that's the secret. Dreams choose symbols because they're more durable than sentences. A word can fade, but an image of standing barefoot on an endless road or holding an impossible object will live inside you for years. Dreams know how to speak in ways that never quite leave. The hidden doorway of REM sleep. If the mind had stages of theatre, REM sleep would be the grand performance. This is the phase when dreams bloom most vividly. Your eyes flicker beneath closed lids, your brain hums with activity, and though your body lies still, your inner world becomes a cinema of sights and sounds. REM, rapid eye movement, comes in cycles throughout the night, like tides rising and falling. Each cycle grows longer as morning approaches, and within these stretches the brain enters a peculiar paradox. It's both asleep and highly awake. Electrical activity surges, almost mimicking waking thought, yet consciousness is submerged in dreamscapes. What makes REM so important is how it fuses memory, emotion, and imagination. Studies show that when people are deprived of REM, their moods suffer and creativity dims. It seems this stage isn't just for spectacle, it's for mental repair. The mind uses it to process, to release, to test. Nightmares rehearse danger, while lighter dreams rehearse joy. It is a workshop disguised as a storybook. Some cultures call this state a doorway. Ancient Egyptians, for example, believed dreams accessed hidden knowledge through the third eye. In modern science, we see how REM opens access to the unconscious. The doorway metaphor feels right because during REM, the mind travels freely beyond ordinary walls of reason into places where the impossible feels possible. So every night, without realizing, you cross this hidden doorway many times. Each crossing gives your mind a chance to reset, to learn, to heal. And when the eyes beneath your lids race like tiny messengers, it's a sign the doorway is open once again. How the brain paints moving pictures. One of the most astonishing things about dreaming is how real it feels. Not just the images, but the way they move, the way scenes shift, the way entire landscapes breathe. The brain doesn't just flash still pictures. It paints moving worlds that mimic waking life. This is possible because while you sleep, the brain's visual cortex fires as if your eyes were truly open. The colors, the depth, the fluidity, all simulated with remarkable precision. At the same time, memory regions feed fragments into the picture. A cafe from your childhood, a face from yesterday, a road you've never seen, all spliced together into a seamless reel. What's fascinating is how seamlessly the brain transitions between scenes. One moment you're standing in a crowded market and the next you're underwater, breathing just fine. You don't question it. The brain doesn't announce scene changes. It blends them like a film director, cutting and dissolving without pause. This fluidity is what makes dreams so immersive, even when they defy logic. But here's the quiet wonder. Unlike films, dreams aren't watched, they're lived. You are both the actor and the audience, both the storyteller and the character. That's why the emotions feel so intense. You're not just seeing the picture, you're inside it, moving with it, breathing its air. The dream paints around you, and you inhabit its strokes. This shows us something profound about the brain. It doesn't just recall memories or imagine possibilities. It creates entire experiences so convincing they can fool the heart into racing, the skin into sweating, the soul into believing. The moving pictures of dreams prove just how powerful the mind's canvas truly is. Why time bends differently in a dream. Have you ever woken from a dream that felt like it lasted hours, only to find minutes had passed? Or the opposite? A dream that felt brief, but spanned days in its storyline? This is the strange bending of time inside dreams. The brain, when dreaming, doesn't obey the clock. Instead, it organizes events by emotion and imagery. That's why one intense feeling, fear, joy, longing, can stretch a moment into eternity. And why trivial details can be skipped entirely, as though time leapt forward in a blink. In dreams, the mind is a sculptor, stretching and compressing time like clay. Scientists suggest this happens because during REM sleep, the brain disengages from external cues of time. There's no sunrise, no ticking clock, no interruption. Freed from anchors, the mind writes its own rhythm. That's why entire lifetimes can be lived in one night. Marriages, adventures, journeys across lands, and then dissolve in seconds upon waking. This bending of time can feel deeply mysterious. It hints at how subjective time truly is, even when awake. If dreams can stretch minutes into hours, perhaps waking life too is shaped more by perception than by seconds. Think about how a joyful afternoon can vanish quickly, while a single painful moment can feel endless. Dreams simply magnify that truth. So when you drift into sleep and enter a dream, you're stepping into a place where clocks no longer matter. Time there is elastic, woven by memory and feeling. And when you wake, you carry a whisper of that elasticity, a reminder that time may not be as rigid as we believe. The silent language of the sleeping self. At the heart of dreaming lies a language beyond words. It isn't spoken aloud, but it resonates. It isn't written on paper, but it imprints itself in memory. This is the silent language of the sleeping self. This language is woven from feelings, images, sensations, and archetypes. It tells you you're anxious without saying you're anxious. Instead, it shows you teeth falling out or a storm rising. It tells you you're hopeful not with words, but by placing you on a mountain peak with open skies. It is subtle, but it is precise. The unconscious speaks exactly what it means, but never directly. What makes this language remarkable is its honesty. While we filter words in waking life, choosing what to say and what to hide, the sleeping self doesn't censor. It shows truths you may resist in daylight. That's why some dreams disturb us. They tell us what we didn't want to hear, but needed to. And yet it is also a healing tongue. Night after night, it helps the mind process burdens without demanding conscious effort. Even when forgotten upon waking, the language has done its work. It has whispered, it has released, it has reshaped. The psychology of dreams reminds us of this. Inside every sleeper lives another self, one who speaks without words, one who knows more than we admit. To listen to that silent language is to hear the deeper story of who we are. Emotions taking the driver's seat. In waking life, logic tries to steer the ship, but in dreams, emotions hold the wheel. You've probably noticed how feelings dominate. A small detail can trigger enormous fear, joy, or sadness. The dream doesn't care about accuracy, it cares about mood. A hallway may look familiar, yet it's the dread of being lost that lingers. A stranger's smile may carry more weight than the story around it. Dreams let emotions drive the narrative, making them not just mental images but deeply felt experiences. When neuroscientists scan dreaming brains, they find that emotional centers, like the amygdala, light up brightly. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the part that governs reason and order, dims down. This explains why feelings run wild while logic quietly steps aside. The brain is giving emotions free rein, letting them spill into the canvas of sleep without restriction. This is why a dream can feel more powerful than waking memory. You may not remember every word of yesterday's conversation, but the sensation of being chased in a dream, the pounding heart, the terror remains sharp. Dreams etch emotions more deeply than events themselves because the emotional brain is in command. Interestingly, this emotional dominance is not always negative. Just as nightmares amplify fear, joyful dreams can amplify wonder. Flying through the sky, dancing in impossible places, laughing with long-lost loved ones. These are emotional rehearsals too, reminding us that joy is just as vital to survival as caution. Dreams rehearse both danger and delight, giving us a full spectrum of feeling. So when emotions take the driver's seat in dreams, they're not betraying us. They're showing us what matters most. They highlight the undercurrents we often ignore during the day, steering us toward truths we didn't know we were carrying all along. Why fears visit more than friends? It's curious, isn't it? How often dreams lean toward fear. Many people report nightmares more vividly than pleasant dreams. The brain seems almost biased toward conjuring scenarios of running, falling, or being chased. But there's a reason. Fear is one of the mind's oldest teachers. From an evolutionary perspective, fear rehearsals kept our ancestors alive. A dream of danger was like a nighttime drill, the brain practicing how to respond if threats appeared in waking life. Even today, though lions don't stalk us in caves, the mind still simulates dangers. It uses dreams as training grounds, testing how we handle the surge of fear. But fear in dreams isn't always about physical danger. Sometimes it's social, embarrassment, rejection, humiliation. Other times it's symbolic, a crumbling house representing insecurity, a faceless pursuer symbolizing unresolved guilt. The unconscious cloaks fear in many costumes, but the purpose remains the same: to bring awareness to what unsettles us most. Interestingly, while fear often dominates, it rarely destroys. Most nightmares end with awakening, not with catastrophe. The mind protects you by ending the scene when it overwhelms. And often, even in nightmares, symbols of resilience sneak in. The sudden ability to fly, the appearance of light, the arrival of unexpected help. Fear may come more often than friends, but it rarely comes without its own lessons. So when fears walk into your dreams, they're not punishments, they're rehearsals, messages, mirrors of what needs attention. They may be more frequent visitors, but they leave behind a strange gift, awareness. And awareness, even when uncomfortable, is what helps us grow. How unfinished thoughts weave into dreams. Think of your mind as a loom. By day, it gathers loose threads, half-finished conversations, unanswered questions, worries left hanging, even tiny details you barely noticed. By night, the loom begins to weave. Those unfinished threads become the fabric of your dreams. This is why dreams often feature people you just met, tasks you left incomplete, or events you worried about. The brain doesn't let go easily. It takes those dangling threads and tries to make patterns. Sometimes the patterns make sense. Other times they look chaotic. But either way, the mind is clearing its shelves, weaving what wasn't resolved into a nightly tapestry. Even fleeting thoughts can become dream material. A glance at a photograph, a background song, a worry about tomorrow's meeting, all can resurface in the dreamscape. This is why dreams feel oddly specific, yet unpredictable. They're not random, they're reorganizations. Your brain is sweeping the day's debris, stitching fragments into stories to process what you didn't finish. Psychologists call this day residue. But it's not just about memory cleanup, it's also emotional housekeeping. By weaving unfinished thoughts into dreams, the mind softens their weight. Problems may not vanish, but they lose their sharpness. The mind has handled them once already, even if only symbolically. So each night, your unfinished thoughts quietly weave themselves into dream cloth. It may look strange, mismatched, surreal. But hidden inside that weaving is a quiet act of healing. The mind tidying itself, one thread at a time. Memory fragments stitched together. Dreams are like quilts made from scraps. The fabric of your childhood, the threads of yesterday, the colors of imagination, and all stitched together into something new. Memory fragments are the most common raw material of dreams, appearing in forms both clear and distorted. This is why a childhood home may show up unexpectedly, or a teacher you haven't thought about in decades suddenly appears. The brain is constantly dipping into its memory archives, pulling fragments forward and sewing them into the current dream. It doesn't ask whether they belong together. It stitches freely, making new holes from old parts. What's intriguing is how distorted these memories can become. A familiar face may wear a stranger's expression. A real place may bend into impossible geometry. These distortions are not errors. They are creativity at work. The brain is experimenting, combining fragments to test new patterns, as if memory were clay to be reshaped rather than stone to be preserved. Scientists believe this memory stitching serves a vital purpose. By reworking fragments, the brain strengthens important connections while discarding weak ones. It's memory consolidation disguised as story-making. In other words, when you dream of old events, your brain is actually editing your personal library, deciding what to keep, what to link, and what to fade. So memory fragments in dreams are not just nostalgia, they are evidence of the mind's editing room, where old films are spliced into new reels. Every dream is both a story and a memory workshop, stitching together scraps into patterns we never consciously intended. The role of forgotten childhood in nightly stories. Perhaps the most haunting visitors in our dreams are the echoes of childhood. Forgotten toys, playgrounds, school corridors, even childhood fears resurface in ways we can't predict. These aren't accidents. Childhood memories form some of the deepest foundations of the dream world. Childhood is when the emotional brain was first learning its language. Those early experiences carve deep grooves, shaping how we respond to joy, fear, love, and loss. Even if consciously forgotten, the unconscious remembers. Dreams often pull from those grooves, reawakening the raw material of who we first were. This is why many adults dream of being children again, or of places long abandoned. The unconscious isn't showing you random nostalgia, it's reconnecting you with your earliest templates for life. That playground where you once felt left out may return to remind you of current insecurities. That warm memory of a parent's embrace may come when you most need comfort. Childhood dreams are not about the past. They're about how the past still lives in you. And because childhood is filled with both wonder and vulnerability, these dreams can feel especially vivid. A child's eye view of the world, larger rooms, taller figures, brighter colors, often returns in sleep. The mind doesn't just recall childhood, it re-experiences it with the same awe and fragility. So the role of forgotten childhood in dreams is not to drag you backward, but to show you how deeply your foundation still shapes today. Each night, as you dream, your earliest self whispers through the layers, reminding you of the roots beneath the person you've become. Why the brain rehearses danger in sleep. It may seem strange that dreams often put us in danger, running from floods, falling from heights, being chased. They appear more than we'd like. But the brain isn't trying to scare us for no reason. It's rehearsing. Much like a fire drill prepares a building's occupants, dreams prepare the mind for possible threats. Long before humans had alarms or safety nets, the mind was already running simulations of survival. Scientists believe these rehearsals sharpened our ancestors' reactions. By dreaming of danger, the brain practiced responses, fight, flight, or freeze, without the cost of real harm. Even now, when modern life rarely involves predators or cliffs, the brain continues this training. Nightmares, uncomfortable as they are, may actually be protective, keeping our survival instincts sharp. But these rehearsals aren't limited to physical threats. Social fears, it's like being unprepared for an exam or speaking in public, often surface. The brain treats them as real dangers because social rejection once meant life or death in small tribes. To the unconscious, embarrassment and exile can feel just as dangerous as wolves and storms. Interestingly, danger rehearsals can shift into empowerment. A dream that begins with running may end with flying. One that starts with fear may resolve in courage. The brain doesn't just rehearse failure, it experiments with triumph. It gives you alternate endings, teaching you resilience through imagination. So if you find yourself in danger at night, it may not be a punishment, it may be practice, a strange symbolic rehearsal for challenges you haven't yet faced, but may be more ready for because of it. The strange logic of the dream world. Dreams obey rules that make no sense in waking life. Doors open into oceans, people change faces mid-sentence, and you accept it without hesitation. This strange logic is one of the most puzzling features of the dream world. Why don't we question it more? Because the brain suspends its usual checks during sleep, letting imagination rule without interruption. The prefrontal cortex, the region that monitors logic and consistency, goes quiet during REM. That silence opens the floodgates for bizarre combinations. A classroom may merge with a forest, or a friend may suddenly be a stranger. Dreams don't ask whether it's possible, They simply unfold, and the dreamer flows along. What's fascinating is how quickly we adapt. In dreams, impossibility feels natural. We don't stop to protest when gravity vanishes or when animals speak. This flexibility shows the brain's incredible willingness to suspend disbelief, an ability that fuels not just dreams but also art, creativity, and storytelling in waking life. Some researchers suggest dream logic is a playground. By bending rules, the brain explores scenarios it couldn't explore in waking life. It allows creativity to run wild, to test ideas without boundaries. That strange logic may be what sparks sudden insights, and the kind that seem absurd at night, yet useful by day. So while dream logic may appear nonsensical, it serves a hidden role. It breaks the chains of normality, letting the mind experiment, rehearse, and imagine with total freedom. And in that freedom, the seeds of creativity and resilience quietly grow. Why impossible things feel natural when dreaming. Flying over cities, breathing underwater, meeting people who are long gone. In dreams, impossible things don't just happen. They feel ordinary. You rarely stop to say, "This can't be real." Instead, you glide through them as if they were part of life's normal script. Why is that? Because the dreaming mind isn't anchored to waking reality. It rewrites the rules without telling you. During sleep, the brain's reality-checking systems relax. The boundary between possible and impossible dissolves, and imagination fills the space. This is why you accept the impossible so easily, because there's no inner referee blowing the whistle. You're free to experience without question, and that freedom makes the impossible feel real. Another reason is sensory richness. Dreams simulate sights, sounds, textures so vividly that they override disbelief. When you feel the wind as you fly or the weightlessness of floating, the sensations convince you more than logic could deny you. Your body reacts as though it's true. Racing heartbeat, quickened breath, even muscle twitches, further deepening the illusion. There's also a hidden benefit. By making the impossible feel natural, the brain rehearses adaptability. It teaches you to stay calm in the face of the unfamiliar. That's why waking from a dream of flying doesn't leave you panicked, but often exhilarated. The impossible isn't treated as a threat, it's treated as an expansion. So maybe dreams remind us of something profound. Reality is negotiable. At least in the theater of the mind, impossibility is not a wall but a doorway, and stepping through it feels like the most natural thing in the world. The thin veil between nightmare and vision. Dreams don't always come neatly packaged as good or bad. Sometimes they hover between nightmare and vision, terrifying yet meaningful, dark yet filled with light. A storm may rage, but within it, a guiding figure appears. A chase may terrify you, yet lead to an open field where relief floods in. The veil between nightmare and vision is thinner than we imagine. This duality is what makes dreams so powerful. They can shake you with fear, but also awaken you with insight. A nightmare might reveal a hidden anxiety, but in revealing it, the dream acts as a vision for healing. It shows you what must be faced, not just what must be feared. Cultures throughout history treated nightmares as messages. Some saw them as warnings from spirits, others as guidance from the subconscious. Modern psychology frames them as emotional processing. But in either view, the thin veil remains. Nightmares often carry meaning, and visions often carry shadows. They're not opposites, but two faces of the same coin. What's most fascinating is how quickly one can turn into the other. A terrifying chase may suddenly transform when you stop running. A nightmare may end with an image of hope. These transformations suggest that the unconscious isn't just tormenting you, it's testing, teaching, and sometimes offering a doorway into clarity. So the veil between nightmare and vision is not meant to be feared, it's meant to be noticed, because sometimes, in the darkest dream, the brightest message is hidden waiting to be uncovered. How the body reacts to dream tension. Though dreams play out in the mind, the body doesn't remain untouched. Have you ever woken from a dream with your heart pounding, breath short, or muscles tense? The body reacts to dream tension almost as if the events were real. That's the strange power of dreaming. It doesn't just stay in the head, it seeps into the body's rhythms. During REM sleep, while the body is largely paralyzed to prevent movement, internal systems remain highly responsive. The heart rate spikes during nightmares, slows during calm dreams, and breathing patterns shift with dream events. It's as though your body is running its own simulation alongside the mind's. These reactions explain why dreams can leave lingering sensations. A frightening dream may leave you sweating even after waking. A joyful dream may leave you smiling. The body doesn't fully distinguish between real and imagined tension. It responds as if the dream were real enough to matter. And in a sense it is. Some researchers suggest these bodily reactions help with emotional processing. By raising the heart rate during simulated danger or calming it during imagined safety, the body rehearses emotional regulation. Night after night, your system practices stress and recovery without you even noticing. It's a built-in training ground for resilience. So while dreams unfold silently in the mind, the body listens. It feels, it reacts, it rehearses alongside you. And in that hidden partnership between brain and body, each dream leaves its imprint, not just in memory, but in muscle, breath, and heartbeat. Why we forget most of our dreams. It's curious how we wake from dreams so vivid, only to watch them dissolve within minutes. Scientists estimate we forget around 95% of our nightly dreams. Why does the brain create such detailed worlds only to let them vanish? The answer lies in how memory works during sleep. While the brain is highly active in REM, the hippocampus, the region that encodes long-term memory, is less engaged. This means dreams are felt fully but stored weakly. They linger like mist, fading as waking consciousness takes hold. The dream is real in the moment but fragile in recall. Forgetting isn't always a failure. The brain may choose not to preserve every dream because the function of dreaming isn't about long-term memory, but about emotional processing and mental rehearsal. Holding on to every dream would clutter the mind with too much symbolic noise. By letting most dissolve, the brain keeps only what matters. Interestingly, sometimes a dream sticks, not because it's more vivid, but because it stirs deeper emotion. The brain marks emotionally charged dreams for storage, even if imperfectly. That's why you might recall a childhood nightmare for decades, while forgetting last night's adventure entirely. So forgetting most dreams isn't a flaw. It's the mind's way of protecting clarity, keeping your inner library uncluttered. Dreams serve their purpose even when forgotten, working in silence, shaping you behind the curtain of memory. The strange selectiveness of recall. But why do some dreams remain while others slip away? This is the strange selectiveness of recall. The brain doesn't remember dreams randomly. It chooses based on intensity, timing, and meaning. That's why the dream just before waking is often remembered best. The transition into daylight helps it stick. Another factor is emotional weight. Dreams that spark fear, joy, or awe leave deeper imprints. The body's reactions, racing heart, tears, laughter, create a stronger memory trace. In contrast, neutral dreams fade quickly, like chalk washed off by rain. The unconscious is selective, saving only what resonates most. Even fragments matter. A single image, a door, a voice, a landscape, may remain while the story disappears. These fragments often resurface days later, triggered by something in waking life. A smell, a sound, a face can call back a dream you thought was gone. Recall is less about accuracy, more about emotional echoes. People who keep dream journals often notice how recall improves with practice. By writing dreams down immediately, they train the brain to pay attention, strengthening the fragile bridge between night and day. Over time, more fragments stay, more details linger. The mind responds to being listened to. So dream recall isn't just a mystery, it's a dialogue. The unconscious sends signals and the conscious decides whether to receive them. Some slip away, others remain, and perhaps what stays behind is exactly what you needed to remember. How one vivid dream lingers for years. Everyone has at least one dream that never leaves. It may have happened decades ago, yet it feels alive when recalled. Why does a single dream linger for years while countless others vanish? Because some dreams strike so deeply they carve themselves into the emotional memory, not just the logical one. Vivid dreams often combine intensity of imagery with raw emotion, a glowing figure, an endless fall, a reunion with someone lost. These moments burn into the psyche because they bypass reason. They don't just inform you, they change you. The dream becomes less like a story, more like an event you lived. This is why people sometimes describe powerful dreams as life-changing. They alter choices, inspire art, or even shift beliefs. Whether mystical or psychological, these vivid dreams become touchstones, moments you return to for meaning long after the night ended. They act as silent companions, shaping the path of waking life. Interestingly, these dreams don't always make sense. Their power isn't in clarity but in presence. A dream of walking through fire unscathed may linger, not because it explained anything, but because it gave you a sense of strength you never forgot. Sometimes the lingering is the message, so when one dream stays with you, treat it with reverence. It's not just a leftover image, it's a marker of transformation. A single night can echo across a lifetime, reminding you that the dream world leaves footprints far deeper than memory alone. The science of lucid dreaming. Among all dream experiences, few fascinate people as much as lucid dreaming. The moment you realize you're dreaming while still inside the dream, suddenly the rules shift. You're not just a character, you're the author, free to shape the story. Flying, exploring, creating, all at your command. But what's truly happening in the brain when this occurs? Lucid dreams happen when a part of the prefrontal cortex, or usually quiet in REM, flickers awake. This creates a bridge between conscious awareness and the dream state. The dream doesn't collapse, it stabilizes with new clarity. You recognize the illusion, but you remain inside it, walking the line between waking and sleeping worlds. Some people practice techniques to reach lucidity: reality checks, meditation, or dream journaling. With time, they learn to trigger awareness and extend control. Others stumble into it by accident, realizing mid-dream that the impossible is happening. Either way, the moment is exhilarating, a strange gift from the brain. What makes lucid dreaming profound isn't just control, it's the opportunity for self-discovery. Some use it for creativity, rehearsing performances, or solving problems. Others use it for healing, facing nightmares head-on. The dream becomes a canvas not just for symbols, but for active exploration of the self. So lucid dreaming isn't just fantasy, it's a bridge between conscious will and unconscious depth, a rare glimpse of harmony between two halves of the mind. To walk in that space is to witness the brain at its most mysterious and its most powerful. When the dreamer becomes the author, the most extraordinary shift in dreaming is when you stop being only a passenger and become the author. In lucid dreams, or even in rare, non-lucid moments, the dreamer sometimes takes the pen. You choose the path, you create the world, you decide what comes next. It's a profound reminder of the mind's power. When you become the author, the dream no longer feels like random chaos. It becomes intentional. You may choose to soar, to revisit loved ones, to ask questions. Some people even describe spiritual encounters in this state, feeling as though they tapped into wisdom beyond themselves. Whether scientific or mystical, the experience feels transformative. The act of authorship also changes how you see waking life. If you can rewrite the rules inside a dream, maybe reality too is more flexible than it seems. That's why lucid dreamers often report more confidence, more creativity, and more resilience. They've tasted freedom where freedom shouldn't exist, inside sleep itself. But authorship doesn't always mean full control. Sometimes it's partial, nudging the story rather than rewriting it completely. Even small choices, like deciding to walk instead of run, create a sense of empowerment. The dream becomes a collaboration between conscious will and unconscious flow, like co-writing a story with yourself. So when the dreamer becomes the author, something profound happens. You discover that your mind is not just a receiver of experience, but a creator of it. And that realization that you can shape world stays with you long after the night fades. Why flying feels more natural in sleep. Among all dream experiences, flying is one of the most common, and strangely, it rarely feels odd while it's happening. In waking life, gravity is our constant companion. Yet in dreams, we rise, soar, and glide as though it were second nature. Why does the brain make flying feel so natural? The answer lies in how the brain simulates movement. Even without physical motion, it can create the sensation of acceleration, balance, and lift. During REM, these systems are freed from bodily limits, giving you the illusion of effortless flight. The brain doesn't just imagine it, it feels it, and that sensation convinces you it's real. Flying dreams also reflect a deeper longing. Psychologists believe they often symbolize freedom, release, or the desire to rise above challenges. The ease of flight mirrors our wish to break free from constraints, whether emotional, social, or physical. In dreams, the impossible becomes a rehearsal of liberation, a symbolic practice of rising beyond weight. Interestingly, children and young adults report flying dreams more often than older adults. Some suggest it's because youthful minds embrace possibility more easily, while adult minds become bound by daily logic. Flying, then, becomes a reminder of how the spirit feels when unburdened by limits. So when you wake from a flying dream, you're not just remembering a fantasy, you're recalling how it feels to live without gravity, a sensation both physical and symbolic, showing you the freedom your soul still craves, the illusion of control in lucid dreams. Lucid dreams are thrilling because they offer control, yet even within them that control is an illusion. You can choose to fly, summon objects, or change the scene, but the dream itself still provides the stage. You're not directing from scratch. You're co-authoring with the unconscious, a collaboration more than a conquest. This illusion of control can be empowering. To realize you're dreaming and steer events feels like waking up inside sleep. It gives you agency where none should exist, but if you pay attention, you notice that the dream still resists. Settings shift unexpectedly, characters act with autonomy, and scenes dissolve without your permission. Psychologists suggest this tension between control and surrender is the key to lucid dreaming. It teaches us balance. To guide when we can, but to accept when we cannot. In many ways, it mirrors waking life, where we shape some things yet remain subject to forces beyond us. Lucid dreams rehearse this paradox gently. Some dreamers find the illusion more rewarding than full mastery. To co-create with the unconscious feels like conversing with a wiser, hidden self. The dreamer learns to listen as much as to command. This dialogue between will and mystery makes lucid dreams less about power, more about discovery. So the illusion of control in lucid dreaming isn't a flaw, it's a lesson. Even in the freest dream, you're reminded, life is always part choice, part surrender, a dance between what you wish and what arises. How creativity sneaks through the cracks of night. Dreams have always been companions to creativity. Writers, painters, musicians, inventors, many credit their breakthroughs to visions born in sleep. Why does creativity sneak so powerfully through the cracks of night? Because dreaming frees the mind from the walls of logic, letting new combinations flow without resistance. During REM, the brain's associative networks fire in unusual ways. Memories, emotions, and random images collide. Normally, the waking mind would filter them out as nonsense, but in sleep, the filter is gone. Out of these unlikely pairings, new ideas emerge, strange, beautiful, and often brilliant. Creativity thrives in chaos, and dreams are organized chaos. History gives us many examples. Paul McCartney dreamt the melody for Yesterday. Dmitri Mendeleev claimed the periodic table came to him in a dream. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein began as a nightmare. These are reminders that dreams aren't just psychological byproducts, they're fertile soil for inspiration. But creativity in dreams isn't only for geniuses. Everyday people wake with ideas for solving problems, designing art, or expressing feelings. The unconscious mind works tirelessly at night, reshuffling the pieces until a new pattern appears. Sometimes all you need is sleep to unlock a stubborn puzzle. So when creativity sneaks through dreams, it's not accidental. It's the brain doing what it does best, weaving, experimenting, surprising itself. The night is not just for rest it's for invention, quietly shaping tomorrow's possibilities. The link between dreaming and problem solving. Have you ever gone to bed with a problem and woken up with the answer? This link between dreaming and problem solving is well documented. The brain continues to work on unfinished tasks while you sleep, reorganizing them in ways the waking mind struggles to achieve. During dreaming, the mind loosens its grip on linear logic. It explores creative solutions that would seem absurd in daylight. A scientist might dream of a new formula, an artist of a new image, a student of a new approach. The dream doesn't always hand the solution directly, but it creates the conditions for insight. This is why sleeping on it is more than a cliché. Research shows people perform better on puzzles, memory tasks, and creative problems after rest. Dreams, in particular, allow the mind to connect distant ideas, sparking innovation. They act as an internal brainstorming session, free from conscious censorship. Even nightmares can aid problem-solving. By simulating threats, they help you practice responses, building emotional resilience. A dream may not solve a math equation, but it may prepare you to face the anxiety surrounding it. Sometimes the solution isn't technical, but emotional, and dreams address both layers. So when you wake with clarity after confusion, thank the dream world. It's not idle fantasy. It's the quiet workshop of the brain, solving problems in ways waking logic could never achieve. Why inventors often thank their dreams. Across history, inventors and visionaries have credited their breakthroughs to dreams. The reason is simple. The dream state allows the mind to bypass rigid thinking, connecting ideas in ways the waking self resists. Dreams are laboratories of invention where imagination has no leash. Mendeleev saw the periodic table arranged in sleep. Elias Howe dreamt of the sewing machine's needle design. Even Einstein's thought experiments, some say, were influenced by dreamlike visions of riding beams of light. These stories remind us that human progress is not only built in labs and offices, but also in the silent theaters of sleep. What makes dreams so fertile for invention is their freedom. Unlike waking thought, which checks for feasibility, dreaming thought simply combines. It places together symbols that don't belong, and in that odd mix, new solutions appear. The unconscious dares to imagine without asking permission, but invention in dreams isn't always about grand discoveries. Sometimes it's subtle, a new recipe, a solution to a household problem, a personal realization. The same process that gave humanity the periodic table also helps someone figure out how to fix a broken chair. Creativity doesn't measure scale, it simply flows. So when inventors thank their dreams, they are acknowledging a truth we all share. The unconscious is an ally. Night after night, it works in silence, offering gifts we may or may not notice. And sometimes those gifts reshape the world itself. How the brain balances emotions in dreams. Dreams act like quiet therapy sessions. While you sleep, the brain balances emotions, softening the sharp ones, amplifying the muted ones, and weaving them into stories that help restore inner balance. That's why a stressful day might lead to a dream where fear plays out, only for relief to follow. The mind is redistributing emotional weight, keeping you steady for the next day. This balancing act is subtle. Neural scans show heightened activity in emotional centers during REM, but also in areas tied to regulation, like the anterior cingulate cortex. It's as though the brain lets feelings flood in, but then gently guides them into manageable channels, preventing overload. Dreams don't erase emotions, but they dilute them into symbolism. Think of it like mixing colors. Red-hot anger, deep blue sadness, bright yellow joy. In dreams they blend. That's why a nightmare might end with laughter, or a sorrowful memory might carry beauty. The brain is not cruel, it's painting emotions into balance, letting extremes soften as they mingle. People often underestimate this nightly balancing. They think dreams are strange nonsense, but the truth is, they're the body's way of emotional housekeeping. Without it, we might carry too much unprocessed weight. With it, we wake lighter, even if we don't remember why. So the next time you wake calm after a stormy day, thank your dreams. They've been at work all night, adjusting, soothing, and balancing emotions behind the scenes. Why the heart races during nightmares? Nightmares are intense because they don't just live in the mind, they spill into the body. The racing heart, quickened breath, even sweat on the skin, all mirror the imagined danger. Why does this happen if the threat isn't real? Because the brain treats dream fear almost exactly as waking fear. During nightmares, the amygdala, the brain's fear center, fires strongly. This triggers the sympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for fight or flight. Even though your body is paralyzed to prevent acting out dreams, your heart and breath react as though survival depends on it. The illusion fools the body just enough to trigger real stress responses. This reaction can feel overwhelming, but it has purpose. By simulating real fear, the brain rehearses how the body will respond to stress. In a way, nightmares are like emotional sparring sessions, intense but contained. When you face stress in waking life, the body may be calmer because it has already practiced in sleep. Not all nightmare reactions are harmful. The quickened pulse may leave you unsettled, but it also proves how deeply the mind-body connection runs. Dreams don't stay trapped in thought. They ripple through every system, reminding you that mind and body are one. So while a nightmare may wake you sweating and shaken, it isn't meaningless torment. It's the brain sharpening its edge, ensuring that when fear arrives in daylight, you'll be ready to face it with steadier hands. The soothing role of good dreams. Not all dreams are storms. Some arrive like warm breezes, carrying joy, laughter, and peace. These good dreams soothe the heart, offering comfort as real as any waking hug. They remind us that the brain isn't only rehearsing danger, it's also rehearsing safety, joy, and love. Good dreams often involve reunion, freedom, or play. You may find yourself embracing someone long gone, walking through radiant fields, or simply laughing with friends. These aren't random pleasures, they're the mind's way of reinforcing positive emotions, strengthening resilience against life's difficulties. Joy rehearsed at night becomes joy remembered by day. Studies show that positive dreams boost mood upon waking. Even if you don't recall details, the emotional residue lingers, making the morning lighter. It's as though the brain places cushions beneath you while you sleep, so the weight of life doesn't press as hard when you rise again. Good dreams also serve as reminders of hope. They show that even in the unconscious, joy remains accessible. If grief or hardship dominates waking life, dreams may step in as counterbalance, whispering, "There is still beauty within you." These whispers are medicine, subtle but profound. So when you wake smiling from a gentle dream, carry it with you. It's not just fantasy, it's proof that your mind cares for you, nurturing you with doses of comfort while you rest. How relationships echo inside sleep. Relationships don't end when you close your eyes. They echo in your dreams, replaying conversations, reuniting you with loved ones, or confronting you with conflicts. Friends, family, lovers, even those long gone, all appear in the theatre of dreams, often carrying unspoken emotions from the waking world. Dreams of others aren't always literal. A friend in a dream may symbolize a part of yourself or a relationship dynamic. A conflict with someone might reflect in a conflict, but the presence of people in dreams shows how deeply relationships shape us. Our emotional bonds are etched so strongly that the unconscious replays them nightly. Sometimes dreams of loved ones offer comfort, especially when grief lingers. People report feeling genuine connection, as if they were truly visited. Psychology explains it as memory activation, but many describe it as spiritual, a bridge between worlds. Whether science or mystery, the impact is the same. The bond feels alive. Conflict, too, often plays out. Arguments or betrayals in dreams don't necessarily mirror reality, but they expose hidden feelings. The unconscious is honest even when the conscious avoids. That's why difficult relationship dreams can feel heavy. They reveal emotions you may not admit by day. So relationships echo in dreams, not to confuse, but to deepen awareness. They remind you that love, grief, joy, and conflict are never separate from who you are. Even in sleep, you carry the imprints of every connection you've ever known. The dream as rehearsal for real life. One of the most important functions of dreaming is rehearsal. The brain stages scenarios, some frightening, some joyful, to prepare you for real life. It's not just fantasy, it's practice. Each night you step into simulations that fine-tune your reactions and strengthen your resilience. Think of how often you dream of being unprepared for an exam, a meeting, a performance. These aren't punishments, they're rehearsals, helping you face anxiety before it arrives. By confronting stress in sleep, the mind lowers its sting in waking life. It's mental training disguised as story. Even positive rehearsals matter. Dreams of success, of connection, of joy, they strengthen the neural pathways of confidence and hope. Just as practicing in reality improves skill, practicing in dreams reinforces emotional readiness. The brain is giving you silent lessons night after night. What makes dream rehearsal unique is its safety. You can fall without injury, fail without consequence, experiment without judgment. The unconscious provides the stage, the roles, the script, then lets you play until you're ready. Waking life feels easier because you've already walked those paths in the shadows of sleep. So when you dream, remember this, it's not wasted time, it's rehearsal. The mind preparing you quietly, invisibly, so when real life calls, You're more ready than you ever realized. Why recurring dreams never fully leave. Some dreams return again and again, sometimes over years. They may change in detail, but the core remains. The same hallway, the same chase, the same falling. Why do recurring dreams never fully leave? Because they are unfinished stories, echoes of unresolved feelings or lessons still waiting to be learned. The brain doesn't repeat them out of laziness, it repeats them out of persistence. Just as a teacher revisits a lesson you struggled with, the unconscious replays the same theme until it feels integrated. Each repetition offers a slightly new angle, nudging you closer to awareness. Recurring dreams often revolve around anxiety, being unprepared, being pursued, losing control. But they can also carry positive motifs like flying or revisiting a cherished place. In both cases, the repetition highlights importance. The mind is saying, pay attention, this matters more than the rest. Even when the details shift, the emotional signature remains. That's why the dream feels familiar, even if the scenery changes. The unconscious is less concerned with plot than with feeling. When the feeling finally finds resolution, the dream often fades, its work complete. So recurring dreams never fully leave because they still have business with you. They're not hauntings, they're conversations unfinished, reminders that some part of your inner world is still knocking, waiting to be heard. 37. Dreams often reflect the day that came before. Psychologists call this the day residue effect, the way fragments of daily life slip into nightly stories. A passing conversation, a fleeting worry, even a small joy can resurface, rearranged into strange dreamscapes. The dream becomes a mirror, but not a perfect one. This mirror is warped by emotion. If a day carries stress, the dream exaggerates it. If a day carries joy, the dream expands it into surreal wonder. That's why a simple argument can grow into a nightmare, and a brief smile can blossom into a dream of laughter. Dreams magnify emotional highlights, not just events. The dream mirror also bends time. Yesterday may merge with decades-old memory. A present colleague may stand beside a childhood friend. The unconscious doesn't keep strict borders. It blends past and present, layering reflections until meaning emerges through distortion. What makes this mirroring fascinating is how unconscious it is. Even things you barely noticed during the day, a background song, a stranger's glance, can appear at night. The mirror reflects more than you realize you've seen, showing how much the mind absorbs silently. So when you recall a dream, look closely at the day before. Often the reflection is there, waiting in disguise. The dream is not separate from life. It's a mirror, softened and strange, but still faithfully reflecting the pulse of your days. Why some dreams predict feelings before they happen. Every so often a dream seems to anticipate reality. Not in the sense of fortune-telling, but in predicting feelings before they arrive. You might dream of loneliness days before a breakup, or of relief before a problem resolves. How is this possible? Because the unconscious often senses shifts before the conscious does. The brain gathers signals all day. Subtle cues, body language, emotions beneath words. Much of this never reaches conscious awareness, but the unconscious stores it. At night, it processes these cues and weaves them into symbolic form. The dream becomes a preview of emotions you'll soon face. This is why many people describe dreams as prophetic. They don't necessarily predict events, but they foreshadow the feelings tied to them. The unconscious is sensitive to undercurrents we ignore by day, and dreams bring those undercurrents forward in advance. For example, a dream of a sinking ship may arise not because disaster is coming, but because your unconscious has already noticed cracks in stability. By the time the conscious catches up, the dream has already played the scene emotionally. The prediction is less about the future, more about the truth already forming. So when a dream seems to know before you do, it isn't magic. It's intuition made visible. It's your hidden self whispering, prepare, feel, notice. Dreams reveal not what will happen, but what is already unfolding within you. How grief reshapes the dreamscape. Grief changes dreams in profound ways. When you lose someone or something deeply important, the unconscious absorbs the weight. Nightly stories reflect it, reshaping landscapes into symbols of absence and longing. Dreams may bring back the person you've lost, or replay moments you wish you'd had. In grief, the dreamscape becomes both sanctuary and battlefield. People often describe vivid visitations after loss. These dreams feel more real than others. The voice clear, the presence undeniable. Psychology frames them as memory and longing, but many experience them as spiritual, as though the boundary between worlds briefly softened. Either way, the emotional impact is healing. Grief also makes dreams heavier. Colors may dim, tones may feel muted, and recurring themes of searching or waiting appear. These aren't punishments, they're the brain's way of processing the vast emotional load of loss, night after night, until the weight feels lighter. Sometimes grief dreams offer resolution. A conversation that never happened in waking life may unfold in sleep. A final embrace, a farewell, a reassurance. These moments, though dreamt, carry real emotional relief. The mind offers what life couldn't, stitching closure into the unconscious. So grief reshapes the dreamscape not to torment, but to help carry the unbearable. Dreams bend to hold your sorrow, giving you space to feel, to remember, and, slowly, to heal. The healing role of dream imagery. At their heart, dreams are more than stories. They are medicine. The images themselves, no matter how strange, play a healing role. They give shape to feelings too vast to name, allowing the mind to process them indirectly. A storm may symbolize anger, a bridge may symbolize transition, a newborn may symbolize hope. The picture holds the weight, freeing you from carrying it consciously. This healing role is subtle. You may wake from a dream unsettled, yet lighter. The symbols did their work even if you didn't decode them. The unconscious doesn't require interpretation for healing to occur. It only requires expression. By painting feelings in imagery, it releases their intensity. Artists often describe dreams as therapy through vision. The unconscious acts like a painter, taking raw emotions and turning them into visual metaphors. Even nightmares have this role. By dramatizing fear, they help release it. By exaggerating sorrow, they help dilute it. Dream imagery is emotional alchemy, turning heaviness into symbol. What makes dream imagery so healing is its distance. It doesn't confront you directly with "you are angry" or "you are sad." Instead, it shows you floods, storms, or strangers. This symbolic veil makes the emotion easier to face, easier to carry, easier to let go of. The picture gives safety to the feeling. So the healing role of dream imagery lies not in clarity, but in transformation. It takes what might break you in raw form and reshapes it into story. And in that nightly act of artistry, your inner world repairs itself in silence.